My name is Jason Perdue, and tonight I'm going to give you a little history of the Tournament of Books and preview this year's upcoming tournament. In 2005, the website, The Morning News, launched what they described as a joke by proposing that they could take books and put them in a bracket-style tournament and run it at the same time as the March Madness. And they were kind of poking fun at other book awards. And so they picked 16 books and they put them in a bracket, and they got judges, and the judges picked winners, wrote up a little article, and they posted them online. And then they had the founders of the Tournament of Books wrote commentary, kind of like play-by-play. So in the first year, the final two books were Cloud Atlas and The Plot Against America. All the judges voted, and Cloud Atlas ended up winning. The prize was a live rooster. And in 13 years, no authors ever accepted the prize. Pitting books in competition against each other is patently absurd, but rooting for books isn't absurd at all, which is really the theme of the Tournament of Books. It's really about celebrating books and has garnered a lot of fans over the years. In fact, so much so that we found ourselves on Goodreads in our group where we literally discuss books all year, trying to figure out which are going to be the 16. And we're constantly debating and reading books and recommending books to each other. So another way that they decided to get the fans involved in the tournament was they created this zombie round. So before the tournament, we all vote for our favorite book. And then at the end of the tournament, when there's 2 books left, they resurrect 2 books that we voted for, and they have a second chance at winning the tournament. So in November, they released the long list of 72 books, which was the beginning of the Tournament of Books season for all of us fans. And so we devoured this list. We subdivided it. We figured out how many books we'd already read. We tried to figure out how many we could read. We started making spreadsheets. We were trying to read as many books as we could. So then last week, they announced that they were going to release the brackets. So this is peak TOB for us fans. I mean, this is the ultimate moment, even more so, honestly, than the tournament itself. We really are just waiting to see what the 16 books are and how they're going to be seeded. So the brackets came out. So I don't know if you probably can't read this, but the number 1 seeds for this year are the Lincoln and the Bardo, Sing Unburied Sing, Manhattan Beach, and Exit West. And all the books are grouped into these matchups now. And so Lincoln and the Bardo, George Saunders. This is probably the most anticipated book of the year. George Saunders is a very famous short story writer. He won the Man Booker Prize. This book is a very inventive and creative use of telling stories in a way that's probably never been done before. And those kinds of books do very well in the tournament. Fever Dream, Samantha Schweblin. This book actually got an automatic entry into the tournament because it won a little mini tournament they did over the summer. Also another very strange book, and does well in head-to-head competitions. White Tears, Hari Kunzru. This is another book that's one of my favorites from the year. Right at the top, Time Magazine said, a book that everyone should be reading right now. I tend to agree. It's a great book and has a chance to do well. This is my favorite cover, so I had to put a slide in here for it. Stephen, Florida by Gabe Habash. An interesting book about an obsessed wrestler and his attempt to win a title. And you have to kind of wade through this fairly unlikable character as you read it. So I'm zooming in here on the bracket a little bit, and you can see Lincoln and the Bardo up there has a matchup in the first round with Fever Dream, which for us Lincoln fans, because I'm picking it to win the tournament, is kind of a nightmare because Fever Dream just won this big tournament over the summer. This is one of the number 1 seeds also, Jennifer Egan. She won the tournament in 2011 with her book, A Visit from the Goon Squad. And this is her new book. I do highly recommend this book. I don't actually think it's going to do very well in the tournament. It's a pretty straightforward historical novel. The Animators, this is probably the best debut novel of the year. Pretty much consensus, people think that. A lot of people voted for this for the zombie, just from what I've heard. And I think that if it loses early, it probably could come back. And Sing Unburied Sing by Jesmyn Ward just won the National Book Award just a couple of weeks ago. And probably the book that most resembles the last 2 winners. It really kind of grapples with race and class and violence and has a very good chance of doing well in the tournament. So in the end, the tournament, it's a bit of a farce, right? It's kind of a ridiculous thing. But the effect of it, putting books in front of me that I wouldn't have read otherwise, right? YA, graphic novels, short stories. And ultimately, it's about celebrating books, and it's about reading. So thank you.